Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Rob. Let's talk about some WIs.
Oh, yes.
After your plunger, or you're just happy to see me. Oh.
Yeah, so, of course, last episode there, Friday, we had the battle of Zay Flowers versus Quinten Johnston. And Zay Flowers came out victorious, and I think what was a surprise to some people, including myself even, and I'm one of the ones who selected him, so it's like, I went into that thinking there's no way Zay Flowers is winning, and sure enough, he wins. So today we have Jordan Addison versus Jaxon Smith-Njigba completing the top four receivers in this draft here. What's such an important and pivotal potential grab for us if we were to go with that position with the first overall pick, if we even have the option to, depending on how the draft goes. Who knows? These four guys may all be gone before we pick. All four may be sitting there when we pick. We have no clue. That's the fun of being at 25. Isn't it nice not to be in the top five for once where you go, I don't know what's going to happen. In the years past, it's like anybody we want pretty much is available because we sucked that badly. So
I guess it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's better than doing what we've been dealing with the last couple of years. That's for damn sure. I'll take a playoffs appearance and a win in the very first playoff game at least. To have our first playoff victory since Eli Manning's last Super Bowl championship. I mean, that's how long it's been, folks. So yeah, I'll take that over that any day of the week. Any day of the week. So before we get started there today, we do have a little bit of Giants news to give you guys there and a little bit of NFL news. So let's start off, of course, with...
It's time for the news.
So the big news that came out today is linebacker Deion Jones visited with the Giants today. You guys may remember him from his years with the Atlanta Falcons. Had a lot of good years with them, 6 seasons overall, 5 of those seasons over 100 tackles. So a very productive player. Played with the Cleveland Browns last year, and really stunk it up a little bit, to be honest. Had about 11 games, only 45 tackles there. So I did see him not getting on the field as often as he did with the Falcons, per se. But the nice thing is...
Wasn't he injured a little bit last year as well?
He was, yeah. But also the nice thing that when you get a guy that's coming off of a not-so-great year, you know what happens to their price? It just plummets on down. And that's what we're doing right now. We're shopping the bargain bins now. We've made our couple of big plays. We're into that bargain bin shopping. So not a bad option there for,
time to go to Dollar General.
Yeah. Oh, we're at the Dollar Tree almost at this point, but I'm not sure where the hierarchy is. I think it's like that. I think that's where it goes. But I mean, we're talking about a linebacker core that had, scrubs, and scrubs to... We're talking about getting a couple of legitimate linebackers in one off season. So I'll take it. We're moving on up to the east side.
Yeah.
Yes, to a deluxe linebacker apartment in the sky. No more Jalen Smith. No more of the guys who shouldn't be in the league probably anymore playing and starting for us at that. So also news out of Giants facilities here, specifically given by ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, that Dexter Lawrence extension talks have officially begun. Let the games begin.
Extension.
Whoa. We're not talking about that kind of extension, Rob. But I still caution Giant.
What are you thinking?
I don't know. I still caution Giant fans, though. I don't think this is going to be a very quick deal. I don't think this is going to be a deal that's going to be very easy to do because we can't afford to pay him more this year just based on how the salary cap is. We're paying him right now, if I remember correctly, about $11 million this season. He's going to get over $20 million in extension. So I don't see how you get that cap number down unless you're doing it as a true addition onto this contract. And if you do that, I've said it before, guys, I'll say it again. It scares the crap out of me to pay a guy off of his potential career best season, which for all we know, that's what we just watched. This happened with Dexter Lawrence, who paid him after his 10-sack season. Has he gotten close to that again? Nope. So I don't want to talk down on Lawrence. I'm not down on Sexy Dexy. Don't get me wrong. I just want to see him prove a second time that he's that valuable. That's all I want to see. I want to see a second season. As John has said, I've arrived. Hey, Drew, is that the same shirt from last episode? I don't know. I don't keep track of what shirts I wear, John, to be very frank with you. It's a trap, LOL. He says, Roberto, how's the cable doing today? Will you make the whole show? That's bad. You're getting called out by the listeners, Rob. You're getting called out. It's okay. Only John can do that, though, because he's on every single episode, John. Much appreciated, man. We also got news. Former Giant running back Dion Lewis, of course, former Patriot as well, named assistant coach at the University of Albany. So good for him to be able to move on to his next stage in his football career now that he's no longer playing in the league anymore. I got to address the elephant in the room as well today. And it's the Stefon Diggs elephant. Because, oh my God, guys, we talk about this quite often, that I hate clickbait, that I see clickbait nonstop. So you notice this was nowhere in our title whatsoever. We're not the clickbait show. We're the realist show. So what I mean by that is, when you see Stefon Diggs tweet out, "Come and rescue me," we're not going to go, "Oh my God, he's coming to the Giants. Oh my God. Oh my God." Guess what, guys? Warning, it's a trap. That's the trap. Million. That's the trap right now. Because you see that. You see his brother, Trayvon, of course, who is the corner for the Cowboys, saying, "We could play against each other twice a year." And then liking a tweet saying, "Stefon Diggs to the Giant, ? And everybody reads into, "Oh my God, Stefon Diggs is coming to the Giants." First off, I don't want Stefon Diggs. Talented player. But he's that diva wide receiver. I don't want another diva. I don't. I want a guy who's a team
I hear you, but
player.
The problem with a lot of these wide ones that are solid, wide ones that are super talented, they're divas.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're 100%
what it is.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. But also, he enjoys playing with Dable.
Oh, yeah.
And he plays ball for him.
Everybody does that you talk to.
He might be able to tame some of that princessness of him.
You would hope so, but I'll always say this. With these kind of talented wide receivers, they get one good year where they're on their best behavior, and then after that, it's done. It's done. So, I don't want another OBJ in our hands and having that kind of diva and that kind of attitude. I'd rather have a couple of really good wide receivers like we're doing. Stack the room. And don't have a guy who's going to be a headache. That's the way to do it.
Stack the room, let them fight it out.
Exactly. That's what we're doing. So I think it's the right way to go, what we're doing right now. No more divas. As John comes in with, "I thought it wasn't just an April Fool's joke, didn't think it was real." I hadn't heard that. But that was, I think, done yesterday, wasn't it? Which is the 2nd. So they're a day late if that's the case. So he also said, "No divas allowed. No more Jerry Rices of the world." Listen, that's an exception to the rule. If you're going to tell me I'm going to get the greatest wide receiver of all time, I will deal with the headaches. But I'm sorry, Stefon Diggs, good player, Pro Bowler. Depending on how long his career is, depending on how long his career is and how long he keeps up at the pace he's at, may eventually turn into a Hall of Fame caliber career. Never going to be Jerry Rice. He's just not Jerry Rice. It is what it is, guys. Not many people are Jerry Rice unless they're named Jerry Rice. It's just the one and only. He's the GOAT for a reason, guys. He says, no, I meant Jerry wasn't a diva. Oh, you said no more Jerry Rices of the world. Okay. Oh, I get what he's saying. He's saying he misses the olden days when wide receivers just went to work and shut up. I think that's what he's meaning, John. Correct me if I'm wrong here. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm with you if that's the case, because like I said, we're assembling a room right now of guys who are assembling a team. And that's what I want. I want a team of wide receivers. I want a team of people that are going to come together, give Jones a lot of options, and not cause trouble. Let the star be the star. And Daniel Jones has the $40 million contract. He has to be that star. If he's not, then that whole contract was a mistake. And we should have drafted a quarterback this year. It's the way it works.
Yeah.
You're making the money. You got to do it. Alrighty. So, guys, we got a little bit here of some news around the league to give you guys. Yeah, some news around the league here. So first we have one thing that I really liked seeing here is Lance Zierlein of the NFL.com ranked the best positional groups for this draft. Guess what number one was? Cornerback. Corner, not quarterback, to be clear. CB. What position do we really need to work on in this draft?
Yeah. CB.
CB. Exactly. So
Give me a C. Give me a B.
I don't know if you're about to start a version of Mr. Roboto, Robert, or we're losing you a little bit there. You're about to make John's wish come true to lose you again.
I was going to go with more than YMCA's. It's C.
All righty. So, like I said,
Don't do that to me,
good
John.
thing to keep an eye on, guys. We're going to do our deep dive more into the corners as well here, not too far after this, because the big three positions I want to get through in this as we go through our deep dives is going to be wide receiver, which we already started on, because let's be honest, that's a splashy one that everybody wants to talk about those. We're going to go ahead and talk about interior offensive line, and we're talking about corners as well. So next episode, guys, we're going to go ahead and do our finals. Whoever wins in the Jordan Addison and Jaxon Smith-Njigba battle here will go against Zay Flowers for the top spot on our board. And then we'll also complete the rest of our top 10. So as John likes to point out, he says Mingo will do that for Daniel. We're talking earlier. John, maybe Mingo will come up in the top 10. Maybe he will. Maybe Wednesday's the day we finally talk about him for you specifically. So other news here. Some NFL teams are starting to think also that apparently DeAndre Hopkins is going to get cut by the Cardinals. So again, guys, what did I tell you we like to be? The realists. The guys who give you the real news. So I'm telling you right now, don't get too excited. We're probably not going to get DeAndre Hopkins. We can't afford him. Let's be honest. So this is, again, you're going to see all kinds of things all over Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all these things saying DeAndre Hopkins may get cut. The Giants may be interested. Either the Giants will be interested, but they can't afford him.
They just can't pay the guy.
I'm interested in a mansion on the beach. Can't afford it. Unless somebody wants to go to buymeacupofcoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Yeah. I would like a shower made out of solid
and we
gold.
are losing to
Just
Rob
so I
as
can take a
John
golden
comes with,
shower constantly.
we can call you Mr. Roberto Damo Arigato, Mr. Roberto. It's that good old Comcast internet. So Comcast, if you'd like to sponsor the show or just perhaps give Rob some decent internet, feel free to give
I was
us
just
an
upgrading
email
my
at
cable.
I know, apparently not enough. Good old Comcast. Alrighty. So last news here we've talked a little about Jalen Carter and his whole experience here in the draft here. So apparently he's now also refusing to visit any teams outside of the top 10 because he thinks that's a slap in the face to go ahead and basically visit with anybody else past that top 10. So yeah, if I don't have enough information on him already to just cross him off my board entirely, there it is. Gone. Goodbye. Toodles.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
He'd make a very good Raider. Very good Raider. He's like that kind of mentality. Like this is the kind of guy that the Raiders like to draft. So they're drafting the top 10. We'll see what happens. Maybe that's who they get. Alrighty. So let's get into our wide receiver battle here. So number 1 here, we're going to start off with Jordan Addison. And interesting, because I can't tell you how many people I'm seeing are going so all over the place on where they think he's going to be. I've never seen, a wide receiver that I've seen some people go, oh, this is an absolute Pro Bowler. This is a guy that's going to be all over the place. You're going to keep on hearing his name. To hearing people say, he's just not that good. I don't think he's going to make it. I don't know where he fits in this league. Like, that's the kind of spread on stuff I'm hearing on this guy. And it's amazing to me because that's a pretty big difference. It really is. So you got the size issue, obviously, 6 foot even, 175 pounds. So he weighs about the size of one of my leg.
Well, the big problem too with this draft is there's no real big receivers out there.
No, and this is definitely the draft of tiny receivers.
Like, a lot of these guys are in the top, yeah.
I mean, if this NFL draft and this crop of receivers from this NFL draft was an Elton John song, it'd be Tiny Dancer. Because they're all tiny. They're all tiny. So what's I think the big draw for some people on this guy is they're looking at what he did at Pitt as opposed to what he did at USC. So for those who aren't aware, because I know all the pictures you'll see of him come out of the draft are him at USC, he played his first 2 seasons at Pitt and then just transferred to USC this past season. So he transferred because of the changes is what he said. So his OC left, his wide receiver coach left, his quarterback, Kenny Pickett, obviously had his tiny hands drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. USC comes along, gets Lincoln Riley, who's like the hot commodity coach that everybody for some reason likes. I've yet to see the driver with this guy. And had Caleb Williams, who is an up-and-coming college star at the quarterback position, who grew up in the same area as Addison. So there was a lot of draws to go to USC. There's been a lot of people saying, I wonder what kind of money he got to go. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying he may not be too worried about his rookie contract. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, so his last season at Pitt, he literally won the Blentikov Award as the top college wide receiver. Was too young to get drafted. Kind of like what you're hearing right now with Marvin Harrison Jr. there, who's obviously going to follow in his dad's footsteps and get into the NFL. So he goes with his first year at Pitt, has 60 catches, 666 yards, 666. Oh no, this explains the issues now. He's got the number of the beast. 4 touchdowns. The next season gets 100 catches. That's always an impressive number to see. 100 catches. 1,593 yards. 17 touchdowns. It's one hell of a season. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Top wide receiver in college football that year. Now goes to the USC Trojans. 59 catches, 875 yards, 8 touchdowns. So almost half. I guess you can say 60% maybe. I don't have the calculator in front of me. Feel free, someone, in the comments section, if you got the calculator in front of you. Probably like 60% of the yards.
I mean, in all fairness, he also had about 60% of the catches too.
Yeah. He almost had exactly. He had 59%, because I can do the math on that one since he had 100 catches that went down to 59. That math's much easier to do. But yeah, I mean, you didn't see him being used as much there at USC. So I think a lot of things come to mind here that I question here. But But Rob, since we got a little bit of delay on you here on your voice here, I'm going to let you go first. That way we're not talking over each other. I want to hear your thoughts on Jordan Addison and what you think of the player.
I liked him. You hear that he's not very fast. He's quick, which there's a difference. Like, he's got a good up and going, but he's also like a Mack truck. He's not your Porsche. He's not going to get you the top speed.
Porsche.
He's got really good moves around, but Porsche, sorry. But he's got good moves, and he's got the ability to reach out and get that ball. And like, he's a fighter for that ball. So like, I definitely see the upside. But that's it. Like, I can see the floor and the ceiling kind of going on him. And which is why you get such about like, he might make in the NFL. He could be a Pro Bowler. Like, there's upsides and downsides, because he got 1,600 yards with Pickett.
Yeah.
In the tiny hands. And then, like we said, 59% of that catches later. A year later.
And I think it's safe to say that USC is facing tougher competition typically than Pitt is.
Correct.
So I think that's definitely part of the equation here. So here's what I think here is very interesting overall with him. So I watched a lot of game tape. I watched both Pitt and USC because I wanted to see if there's differences in the way he was used. So I think it's safe to say, and the numbers obviously show it, that he was much more featured last year at, I guess not last year, but 2 years ago at Pittsburgh, as opposed to last year at USC. He was the top threat. So he wasn't necessarily the top threat. It was like a shared top threat with USC. It was more, the ball was more spread around. But I look at what he brings to the table, and what I see is a lot of screens, a lot of sweeps, a lot of reverses, a lot of trick plays kind of stuff, as opposed to a traditional receiver that's running down the field, running routes, and doing his thing. And that's fine if that's what your game is, as long as it's successful. And he's had a successful college career. You can't say that otherwise when he's, done what he's done, won the award for top receiver, succeeded at 2 different schools with multiple quarterbacks. I mean, that's a good college career. I think most guys would take that career in a freaking heartbeat. I would. Yeah. But I look at what he brings to the table and I say, is that going to transfer to the NFL? And I think some of it will. But I mean, I saw some of the plays where he'd do a reverse. There was one I saw was a reverse where the running back went off to the left side. The whole defense swarmed to the left side. Like, talk about a lack of accountability on the edge and everything. And ended up being a reverse, and he just took it out for like 30 yards. That won't work in the NFL. That's not to say his game won't work in the NFL. But what I'm saying is some of what he did in college, I don't think is going to transfer over to the NFL. So, I watched the tape, and here's what I think. I think he's an excellent route runner. Excellent route runner. Not the biggest hands in the world, so I do have some concern with him with contested catches and stuff like that. Not the fastest guy in the world either. But I think there's a place in the NFL for him. It's almost like if you took, I know it's going to be a bad word, Giants fans. It's like if you took Kadarius Toney and took away some of his speed, but upped his dedication. That's what I feel about Jordan Addison. So I think
he also understands the offensive plays, and he knows how to play majority of those positions in the offense, which is important. So he's, like you said, he's got the dedication, and he's willing to learn, which is coachability, which is what you want.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I think he's got the flexibility, how you use him like a Kadarius Toney, but you don't have the headache, the drama, the BS that came with Toney. But you also don't have some of the the physical ability that Tony had either. That's why people put up with the headache that he is, because there was so much physical ability there. I do think, though, that he's going to have a pretty high floor. I think he's a legitimate NFL player. I'm pretty sure that he's a legitimate NFL player. What I'm not sure on is how far he'll go in the NFL. And that's where I say I think he has the highest the highest floor and the lowest ceiling. I think he's the safest pick in this draft. So I think that's going to be... I think it's going to be something you're going to see.
Boyd. He's like...
Go for it.
He kind of reminds me of Boyd from Cincinnati. Like he's probably not going to be your solid number one wild player, but he could be your fantastic Y2.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that's what he is, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need that in the NFL still. You need that kind of player. So it's not a knock on him to say that.
100%.
But if you're looking at him to be your number one, I think you're going to be in trouble. I think that's the case. But he'll be, if you're looking for a member of your receiving core that has special talents that aren't exactly found everywhere, the versatility, the route running abilities, those kind of things, this is your guy. Now, I'm going to say this. For the Giants, I don't want him. I don't think he fits in with our group and supplies something that we don't already have, because we already got a bunch of little speedy guys here who do those kind of quick routes who can be used and moved all over the field. I think he needs to go to a team that needs a true slot receiver, and for him to be there and occasionally go in out of the backfield and stuff like that and do the weird kind of routes that you see nowadays in the NFL. I think that's where he's better suited. So that's not to say that I'm giving him the loss here, because we're going to give our rankings overall on how the players are. But I do think he's not the best fit for the New York Giants specifically because of the players we already have and him bringing redundant qualities to an already loaded, field of a bunch of basically, as we talked about, tiny receivers that are primarily slot-style receivers. That's what he is. But like I said, I do think he'll have a nice, successful career in the NFL. I do think that he'll find a home somewhere that'll hopefully use him correctly. I do also think he needs to find a golden corral and get a little more weight on him, because 175 pounds, that's going to get you hurt in this league. 6 foot, 175 pounds. Gonna need some. Who doesn't love a good golden corral? So, all right. Any last thoughts you got on Jordan Addison here before we move on to Jaxon Smith-Njigba?
It's going to need some beefcake.
Beefcake.
Not really. Let's talk about JSN.
Oh, yes, JSN, which sounds like a sports network, doesn't it? We do got one question here from John. I'm all in on Jonathan Mingo, but how do you feel about A.T. Perry? John, that's a perfectly excellent question for Wednesday's show. For Wednesday's show, we talk about the guys that aren't in the top four. Like I said, we're going to give you guys a rundown of that. Wednesday, you got to wait till Wednesday, John. We're going to go over, like I said, a lot of the other guys that are the day two kind of picks there. That's the guys. We're going to go over those guys for you. But keep that question in mind for Wednesday, John. I know you'll see you Wednesday. We appreciate it. As he says, LOL. All righty then. I got to do like a Jim Carrey.
All righty then.
May I ask you a question? Finkel is Einhorn.
Einhorn Finkel.
Jaxon Smith-Njigba, as you said, JSN. You're going to see a lot of people here talk about him as well, because to be very frank, people are worried about, I think, mispronouncing his name. I think that's why that nickname came to be. Oh, but it's also a long name as well. It's also a long name. So same exact height as Jordan Addison, 6 foot even, 20 extra pounds, 197. 197. That's what I want out of a receiver. I want a little more weight so you can take the hits a little more, because when you're a wide receiver, guess what happens almost every time you catch the ball? Someone's going to hit you. Unless you get a touchdown, someone's going to hit you. Unless you go out of bounds, someone's going to hit you. So 2/3 of the time you touch the ball, you're probably going to get hit. So yeah, let's get a little bit of meat on them. A little bit of meat. Now here's another interesting tale overall with another guy who had an amazing 21. So he goes into a loaded Ohio State Buckeye, school overall that just has tons and tons and tons of talent. His freshman year has only 10 catches, 49 yards, 1 touchdown. His sophomore year, keep in mind, this is playing alongside Garrett Wilson, who had 1,103 yards with the Jets last season. Chris Olave, who had 1,042 yards with the Saints last year. Good rookie seasons, I'd say, right? I think it's safe to say that's a good rookie season on both those two. Yeah. That's good. His sophomore year, playing with those two guys, 95 catches, 1,606 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Keep in mind, he barely saw the field his freshman year. He was getting better as the season progressed. That's the scary part. His last 5 games, just his last 5, 60 catches, 958 yards, 6 touchdowns. It's almost 200 freaking yards a game. That includes his Rose Bowl game. 15 catches, I was going to say, 347. 347 yards in one game. You're happy if a quarterback gets that many gets that many freaking passing yards. He had that as a receiver. 3 touchdowns. Rose Bowl record. Well, I think that Rose Bowl record was set back in the 3rd quarter even. It wasn't even close. Domination.
We were happy some games last year to have 350 yards in offense.
And we got Beeve White. Welcome again, Beeve, to the show. Says, if the Giants take a wide receiver at the first pick, it will be Quinten Johnston, I guess she means. If not, they'll go another way. They don't need more small receivers. So here's the thing with that. And I'm bringing this comment up specifically right now, even though you just posted a perfect time and you helped me into a segue here. Because of the fact that this is a guy who does play the outside. He's not a pure slot receiver. So if you look at the tape of where he was, he played in the slot quite often because he played in a loaded team. But he's not the guy who didn't go on the outside. This wasn't, like we're talking about with, Jordan Addison, where he was primarily a gadget and a slot receiver. So Quinten Johnston, you're talking about here, 193 pounds. JSN has more weight on him. Now, there's a 4-inch difference in the height, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, 4 pounds.
I mean, I'm not trying to take 4 inches away from the man, but they're not that different in the weight category.
Give every man 4 inches, they'll be happy.
So John says Quinten has a lot of drops, and that's a big thing as well. He does have a decent amount of drops. So I do think that JSN can play on the outside. I think he can have a very successful career on the outside. I truly do. And I think he was inside in the slot position because of what was around him, not because of his limitations.
He had one game that he was on the outside. He ran past the corner. The ball was underthrown. He came back to a pass that should have been an interception and said, mine, and ran for another 15 yards. So, yeah, he can still play the outside.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, one thing I look at when I go ahead and compare wide receivers, I specifically look for these guys when they're playing against defenses that have good corners. So I looked at him against Penn State. Do you think Penn State might have a good corner? You think Joey Porter Jr. might be a decent player? Guy might go in the top 10 in this draft.
1 or 2.
That's how good he is. He had almost 100 yards against them. Wasn't his best game, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't shut down. He still had yards. I look at Utah, who had Clark Phillips III, who is another first-round corner coming out this year. Guess who they played in the Rose Bowl when he had 347 yards? Utah. And I don't mean the Jazz.
Who's that?
So this is a guy who is dominated when he's played against schools. I don't want to make it seem like he's dominated those specific corners, because the way it works in a lot of those games, those corners are moving around from player to player, because that's just how talented and how deep the roster the Buckeyes have had the last couple of years here. But this is a guy who's gone up against teams that had elite corners and still succeeded. Whereas if you look at the tape of Jordan Addison, we talked about a minute ago, kind of give away my answer here, but if you look at the tape of Jordan Addison against Utah, his yards were off of trick plays pretty much primarily. And he did not do good when he was covered by Clark Phillips III. There were some plays that he point blank got knocked into and got the ball knocked out of his hands. I want a guy, if I'm getting him in the first round, who's dominant. I want a guy, if I'm getting out of the first round, who I have a chance of having a number 1 overall receiver out of. That's what I want. I don't think it's an unreasonable request and a reasonable assumption when you're drafting somebody in the first round to expect a first round level talent. So he's not perfect, though. Don't get me wrong. He ain't perfect. He's got some speed issues. He's running 4.5 in the 40.
Both these guys, I think he was clocked at the combine with 4.44.
So he's basically a 4.5. Let's call it what it is. Because he was clocked at his pro day, and his pro day that is a fat guy with a stopwatch. It's not a laser like they do at the combine. So it's always a little bit off because the guy is obviously going to get the home crowd advantage there. So you have guys that are drafted at the edge position that are doing sub 4.4s now. So you got some guys rushing the passer that are faster than this receiver. So again, he's not perfect. But what he is, he's an amazing route runner. He's probably one of the best route runners you'll see in college football ever.
He might be one of the best.
I'm telling you right now, if he ran a 4.3, if he ran a 4.3, he's a top 10 receiver, top 10 draft pick right now. That's how close it is. It's a matter of 0.2 seconds. 0.2. So what he does do well, though, the man stops in a dime. Like, I literally saw tape of him where he would go ahead and stop to come back to the quarterback, stop to shift, and the corner was backpedaling and literally fall down. That's how quick he is.
Yeah,
that's how good he is.
Numerous times he's done that to a lot of the corners. Like, he's very good in that press. Like, he makes the corners second guess, and that's what you need in the NFL for separation.
Yeah. He also goes ahead and switches direction very quickly, which is a dangerous combo. If you can go ahead and stop and switch directions just like that, I mean, there's plenty of people who have made a freaking amazing career out of it. That's amazing skill to get yourself open and create separation that you can't create with your speed or lack thereof. Now, when he gets the ball in the open field, I've seen him make amazing decisions as far as with his vision on where to go. He's not going to be the fastest guy. So, like, I saw even there's one play in the Rose Bowl where he should have had a touchdown, and like 2 or 3 guys were able to track him down and stop him. That stuff's going to happen because he's not the fastest wide receiver in the world. He's not Darius Slayton. But he can do a lot of things that a lot of receivers can't.
He's not a Waddle.
And one thing I got to say, too, that I saw that I was extremely impressed with was his stiff arm. Of all things for a wide receiver, his stiff arm. I can't tell you how many times I watched tape and all of a sudden somebody go to stop him and he just go boom, and just push him right out of the way. Like he wasn't even there. You want to talk about an outside wide receiver and skills that an outside
if
receiver
you're not
needs
fast,
to have.
You gotta figure.
You know, he almost reminds me of. I'm going to make a very, very dangerous comparison.
Yeah, when you're not fast, you need to do other things.
Yeah. I'm going to make a very dangerous comparison here because I think it's giving this guy too high of an expectation for a guy who's never played in the NFL. When I see him, what I think of is almost Anquan Boldin. Not quite as strong as Anquan Boldin, but also a better, a little bit shiftier than Anquan Boldin is. There's differences, don't get me wrong. But a guy who's a good route runner, a guy who's going to give you his speed, he's not afraid of contact. You know what I mean? Like that kind of player. He reminds me a lot of Anquan Boldin. And if that's the player you get, yeah, great. Great. That's a guy who was a true athlete and a true skill player for the NFL for many, many years.
Yeah. Or who's a receiver over in Pittsburgh? Was it Harris? He's retired now.
Which one are you talking?
That's true.
Well, there's a lot of receivers out of Pittsburgh here.
No, Harris. Just put his first name.
Talking about Hines Ward? Are you talking?
No, not Hines Ward. I have to Google it now. But he's
going to drive you nuts.
He's been out of the league for years now.
Yeah.
It's going to drive me nuts. He was probably drafted like 15 years ago, but he wasn't a fast guy. He was just a strong guy. He had great route running, and he was physical.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy is.
Look at it. I got to see who you're talking about. Look it up because I'm drawing a blank myself here. While you're looking that up, the other question we got as far as JSN is, will he be healthy? One thing that's going to make Giant fans cringe is hearing that he couldn't play most of this year because of hamstring issues. It's like we're breaking up Tony all over again. But he doesn't have that history. It was that 1 year. And if you listen to a lot of the guys who played in professional sports, that's one of those things that's difficult to go ahead and get rid of and get over once it starts is issues with your hamstring. So, while it's frustrating as a fan, it's one of those things that from everything you see from a lot of the guys who played professional sports, dealt with these kind of injuries, a lot of them will tell you that it's not that insane for him to have an issue like that linger for the entire season. The question is, you have to trust your medical staff to be able to look at him, review his medical, and make sure there's no issues long term. And if there isn't any, go for it. If there is, you got to make the decision based on the information you have. And that's the one thing why I mention it there now is we're not going to have that information, folks. So I have to go under the assumption that he's healthy, that it was just hamstring issues, and he'll be good to go next season. But in the back of your mind, you got to think, is that the case? Because we don't have the medical files. You get the name for us, Rob?
I do not.
Okay. Well, we're going to go over our votes for...
Failed.
We're going to go over our votes and who's going to win. If you think of it later, you let us know. So, in the battle of Jordan Addison versus Jaxon Smith-Njigba, Rob, who you got and why?
I'm going to have to go with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. That's why I say JSN.
Okay. Hold on. We're going to do this together. We're going to do this. Jaxon Smith. I think it's the last one you're having a little trouble with, probably. Think of it the
Nintendo.
Jigba. See? Jaxon Smith-Njigba. It just rolls off the tongue once you have it down. It's not that difficult. It's just got a little bit different letters than a lot of the typical American names, we'll say. But
yeah, I like his size. I think both these guys are great route runners. I think both of them have ability to get separation. They both aren't the fastest guys in the draft, but I just like the talent. The only thing that scares me about JSN is his health, his hamstring. But both these guys are sophomore year were stellar. And you can't take that away from him. I would like to see JSN on the Giants. I don't know to beat the case, but I think for our system, he beats Addison. He's probably going to become a Bear, but whatever.
No, don't even say that. Don't even
True.
say that. You know, I'm with you.
He played with Fields already.
Yeah. So I got the same vote. I'm going Jaxon Smith-Njigba as well. He's a better fit for us. I've already kind of said as much, but it's not even that. It's who they are as a player overall. Like I told you guys, I think that Jordan Addison has probably the highest floor, but he's got the lowest ceiling. If you want to go with an extremely safe bet for a guy who's probably going to play in the league for, a few years and have, 6,000-7,000 yards in his career, that's the kind of guy you're getting with Jordan Addison, assuming he stays healthy and has the length of career he should have. If you want to get a true number one, Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going to be, I think, a true number one in this league potentially. And I don't think Addison has that potential. So I'm going to go with the guy who has the higher ceiling. And I'm going to understand that he has a potential for a lower floor. And I think the big question you have is, again, the injuries. And I hate as a Giant fan to even suggest to go with the injured player because we've had so many, especially at the wide receiver position. But the talent is too much to pass up for me. The talent is too much for me to sit there and say, I don't know if I want this guy, because no, I want this guy in the team because of the fact that he has a special talent. He can play on the outside as well. And he has moves that are different than everybody else we pretty much have. I think he's a really good fit in the Giants. I really do. Now the question comes to be is, do I think he's a better receiver than Zay Flowers? And that's what we're going to talk about here coming up next on Wednesday. We're going to talk about the battle of Zay Flowers versus Jaxon Smith-Njigba for the top spot. We're also going to go over with you guys a good list of the rest of the wide receivers that we're not going to go as in-depth as we did with the last four here, obviously. I wanted to give you guys a kind of a list of thoughts on the guys that are going to be the first round. Because let's be honest, if you're a casual fan, you're going to watch the first night, maybe the second. If you're a maniac like Rob and I, a goofball, you're going to be glued to the goddamn TV the whole weekend. I want it to be where you guys all get the information you need at that point. So, like I said, we'll give you guys who's going to win the final battle. That'll be pretty quick, obviously, because we've already gone in depth in both those guys. And then from there, we're going to go into all the rest of the top receivers for the league, the guys you need to know about, because the guys that are potential day two kind of guys that are for us. And then from there, we're going to go into either corner or interior offensive line. So I want to hear from you guys which ones you want us to go with next. So drop that in the comments there so we have a good idea of who everybody wants us to go over next. As John says, I'm a maniac. LOL. Mingo, Mingo, Mingo. We know, John, Mingo. You keep this up, John. We're going to take Mingo out of the list for Wednesday just to be that jerk. Don't put it past us. Don't put it past us. We'll do it. You'll unplug your router. What's new, Rob? It's Rob being Rob again. So, again, Giant fans, like I said, we'll have that going for you guys there on Wednesday, and then we'll start the next group up on Friday, assuming no big news happens. If any big news happens, we'll move things around as we need to get everything going for you guys. As always, Giant fans, we're available live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We're also available, of course, on every single podcast platform known to man. So if you guys are watching us live, thank you very much for doing so. Feel free to go ahead and like us all the other spots as well, so you always get notified when we have new content coming out. Typically, we record every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, obviously, the replays are available anytime afterwards on those platforms as well. We do also record onto Twitch and also my LinkedIn page of all things. But the big two, I always tell people, Facebook and YouTube, because if you do a comment, like you saw, some of our regulars here on, we'll see it live on the show. We can comment on it live on the show. We can kind of bring your thoughts right into the show. We love doing that. If you are watching an audio, again, appreciate you guys as well. Feel free to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and feel free to go also to the social media pages so you get to see the live stuff, see the videos, get to see our beautiful faces, because listen, our faces are beautiful. I just have to say that. And I don't say that just because we have, very high self-esteem. So it's because of the truth in advertising laws. We have to say these things. So feel free to come on and see the videos as well. And as John says, as he's getting worried we're not going to talk about Mingo on Wednesday, don't you dare. I won't buy more beer. So we have a sponsorship available at buymeacupofcoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Again, that's buymeacupofcoffee.com/2 giant goofballs. Always available there. Gives you a spot to small donations. I think $5 in there. So, if you guys feel free. If not, don't worry. The show will still be free. We are definitely not taking it away from you whatsoever. As always, Giant fans, we appreciate you taking the time to listen in to hear what these goofballs have to offer here. We know you have plenty of options to get your Giants news from and your draft news from. We appreciate that you guys chose us of all people. We're questioning your sanity for doing so, but we appreciate that you went this route.
You guys just must be goofballs yourselves.
Yeah, we'll be upping your meds tomorrow. And as always, Giant fans,
Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?